The school principal's words hung in the air like poison. Mrs. Chang, Mr. Chang. Zara was on the playground 15 minutes ago. When the teachers called the children to line up for dismissal, she was gone. Flora's legs gave out. The world tilted. The polished floor of Seoul International Elementary rushing up to meet her. But Chang Mao caught her before she fell. His pale hands gripped her arms so tightly it hurt, but she barely felt it. She barely felt anything except the roar of terror in her ears. What do you mean gone? Chang Mao's voice was deadly calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that came before violence. How does a 5-year-old girl disappear from a school playground in 15 minutes? Miss Park, Zara's teacher, stood wringing her hands, tears streaming down her face. We were transitioning from outdoor play to dismissal. There were 32 children on the playground. We counted. Zara was there. Then we counted again at the gate and... she wasn't. Flora found her, voice raw and broken. Did anyone see her leave? Did she walk away? Was she taken? The principal, a composed Korean woman in her 50s, gestured toward her office. We've reviewed the security footage. Please, come with me. The security office was small and cramped, filled with monitors showing different angles of the school. The security guard, a young Korean man who looked like he might be sick, pulled up the footage. Here, he said quietly, pointing at the screen. 3:12 p.m. Flora watched her daughter on the grainy black and white footage. Zara, in her school uniform. That navy bow tie she'd worn so proudly that first day. Her long curly hair bouncing as she played with other children on the playground. She was laughing. Safe. Alive. Flora's hand flew to her mouth. Watch, the security guard said. 3:14 p.m. On screen, Zara looked toward the back gate of the school. The gate that led to the service alley, not the main entrance. She tilted her head, the way she did when she was confused. Then she started walking toward it. No, Flora whispered. No, baby. Don't. But 5-year-old Zara on the screen couldn't hear her mother's warning. She walked slowly toward the back gate, looking back once at the playground, then continuing forward. At 3:15 p.m., she reached the gate. At 3:16 p.m., she walked through it. At 3:17 p.m., she was gone. Did someone call her? Chang Mao's voice was shaking now. Did someone lure her to that gate? We don't have audio, the security guard said miserably. But the gate was locked. It should have been locked. Agent Park, who had arrived within minutes of Flora's panicked call, stepped forward. She'd been studying the footage with the trained eye of a security professional. Someone unlocked it from the outside. Look at the timing. 3:13 p.m. The lock is engaged. 3:14 p.m. It's open. Someone was waiting for the right moment. Flora's entire body was shaking. He took her. Chang Dae-jung took our baby. We don't know that. The principal started, but Chang Mao cut her off. He sent us a photo of her at this school 3 days ago. A threat. We reported it. His dark eyes were blazing as he turned to Agent Park. Tell them we filed a report. Agent Park nodded grimly. Seoul Metropolitan Police have a report on file. Chang Dae-jung has been missing from his residence for 72 hours. He's been making threats against the Chang family, specifically the children. The principal's face went white. I wasn't informed of any threat. You were, Flora said, her voice rising to a scream. I told you 3 days ago that someone had photographed my daughter at this school. I told you to increase security, and you said you'd look into it. She was moving toward the principal now, but Chang Mao pulled her back. Not to protect the principal, to keep Flora from doing something that would slow them down. Where is my daughter? Flora's voice broke on the last word. Where is my baby? The principal had. If you're watching this story for the first time, please start with episode 1 to understand how Flora and Chang Mao's love story began and why their children are now targets. The links are in the description. This is episode 5, the finale, and you need the full context to understand what's at stake. Within 20 minutes, Seoul Metropolitan Police had dispatched a detective team. Within 30 minutes, an Amber Alert had been issued for Chang Zara, 5 years old, Nigerian Korean, last seen wearing Seoul International Elementary School uniform. Within an hour, Flora's phone was exploding with messages. The number fully both community had mobilized. Yolanda Kim was organizing search parties. Multicultural families across Seoul were sharing Zara's photo. News vans were arriving at the school, Reporters were shouting questions. Mrs. Cheng, is it true your daughter was kidnapped? Mr. Cheng, do you believe this is related to the board vote 3 weeks ago? Flora, do you think your interracial marriage put your children at risk? Agent Park physically blocked the reporters while Flora and Cheng Mao ran to their car. But Flora heard every question, every implication, every suggestion that somehow this was their fault for daring to exist. In the car, Flora's hands were shaking so badly she couldn't hold her phone. Cheng Mao was driving too fast, weaving through Seoul traffic, running red lights. Behind them, Agent Park followed in her own vehicle, coordinating with police on her phone. We need to get home, Cheng Mao said, his voice hollow. Police said to wait at home, in case he calls. He has our daughter and we're supposed to just wait? Flora's voice cracked. What if he hurts her? What if she's scared? What if... Don't. Cheng Mao's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Don't say it. Don't even think it. Zara is smart. She's brave. She's going to be okay. But his voice broke on the last word, and Flora knew he was as terrified as she. Was her phone buzzed? A message from Yolanda. We have 200 volunteers searching. We'll find her. Another message. From a Korean mother she'd met at community center. Praying for Zara. My daughter is in her class. They're best friends. Message after message. The number fully both community wrapping around them like a shield. But none of it mattered if they couldn't find Zara. At the penthouse, Jun Seo was with 2 security guards, playing with his toy cars on the living room floor. Their 4-year-old son looked up when they entered, his face brightening. Mommy, Daddy, where's Zara? Is she coming home soon? Flora couldn't answer. Her throat had closed completely. She walked past Jun Seo, past the security guards, straight into Zara's bedroom and closed the door. The princess-themed room was exactly as Zara had left it that morning. Pink pajamas folded on the bed, stuffed animals arranged carefully on her pillow, her backpack hanging on the chair, still containing yesterday's homework. On her desk, a drawing, their family as stick figures holding hands. Mommy, Daddy, me, Jun Seo, written in careful 5-year-old handwriting. Above them, a son with a smiling face. Below them, the words, my family is love. Flora picked up the drawing and something inside her shattered. The sob that tore from her throat was primal, animal. She collapsed onto Zara's small bed, clutching the drawing to her chest, and wept like the world was ending, because it was. Her world was a 5-year-old girl with curly hair and bright eyes, and someone had taken her. She didn't hear the door open, didn't hear Cheng Mao enter, only felt his arms wrap around her as he sank down beside her on their daughter's bed, and then he was crying too. I'm sorry, he said into her hair. God, Flora, I'm so sorry, this is my fault. My family. Don't. Flora pulled back, looking at him through her tears. Don't you dare blame yourself. This is Cheng Dae-jung. This is his hatred, his prejudice, his play, choice, not yours. But if I had just given him the company, if I had stepped down after the board vote, if I had, then he would have found another way to hurt us, another demand, another threat. You can't negotiate with hate, Cheng Mao. It's never satisfied. He pulled her close again, and they sat there on their daughter's bed, holding each other while their world fell apart around them. A knock on the door. Agent Park's voice, urgent. He's calling. They ran. The laptop was set up on the kitchen island. Police officers and detectives crowded around it. A detective was giving last-minute instructions. Let him talk. Don't make demands. Don't anger him. Every second helps us narrow the location. Flora couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the blank laptop screen and pray. Cheng Mao's hand found hers under the counter, their fingers interlacing. She could feel his pulse hammering against her palm. The call, connected. Cheng Dae-jung's face filled the screen, and Flora barely recognized him. The polished businessman who'd attended Cheng Han-sol's funeral 5 years ago was gone. This man's hair was greasy and unkempt. His eyes were wild, ringed with dark circles. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, like he'd aged a decade. But it was what was behind him that made Flora's heart stop. In a dim room that looked like an abandoned warehouse, sitting on a concrete floor, was Zara. Her daughter's school uniform was dirty. Her long curly hair was tangled. But she wasn't crying. She was staring at something off-screen with those bright, intelligent eyes, and Flora recognized that look. Zara was thinking, analyzing, trying to understand. Baby, Flora breathed, but her voice was too quiet to carry through the speakers. Cheng Mao, Daejung said, his voice hoarse. And Flora, how nice of you to answer. Where is she? Cheng Mao's voice was ice, pure, controlled rage. Where's my daughter? What have you done? Your daughter? Daejung laughed, the sound bitter and broken. This confused little girl who doesn't know if she's Korean or African? This is what you call your legacy? Flora watched Zara's small head turn toward Daejung at those words. Watched her daughter's face, trying to read if she was hurt, if she was scared. She's 5 years old, Flora said, forcing every word out calmly even though she wanted to scream. Whatever problem you have with us, with our marriage, with our choices, she's an innocent child. Let her go, please. Innocent? Daejung leaned closer to the camera. Flora could see the madness in his eyes now, the desperation. There's nothing innocent about what you've done. You came into this family like a virus, Flora. You infected my nephew. You turned him against everything his father built. And then you had these children who pollute our bloodline. Pollute? Flora's voice was shaking with rage now. Our children are beautiful. They're brilliant. They're everything good that comes from love crossing borders. They're mistakes, Daejung shouted, and on screen, Zara flinched. They're confused, displaced, belonging nowhere. You've condemned them to a life of never fitting in. The only person who's condemned anyone is you, Cheng Mao said. You kidnapped a 5-year-old child. You're terrorizing an innocent little girl because you can't accept that the world is changing. The world shouldn't change. Daejung's face had gone purple. Korea is for Koreans. Pure bloodlines, pure culture, there's no such thing as pure. Flora cut him off. Every culture is mixed. Every bloodline has crossed borders somewhere in history. You're not fighting for purity. You're fighting to maintain your own power, your own position, and you're using our daughter as a weapon because you lost. I didn't lose. Daejung slammed his hand on something off screen, and Flora saw Zara jump. Her baby was scared. I built Cheng Industries alongside my brother. I gave everything to that company. And what did I get? Nothing, because Han Sol always thought he was better than me. Always thought his son deserved everything while I got scraps. And there it was. The truth beneath all the racism and hatred. This isn't about Korea or culture or our children, Cheng Mao said quietly. This is about you and my father. This has always been about you and him. Your father, Daejung spat, was a selfish bastard who took everything that should have been mine. He was your older brother, Cheng Mao said. And yes, he got the company. That's how it works. Primogeniture. The eldest son inherits. You knew that. But I was better. Daejung's voice cracked. I was the one with vision. I was the one who understood the market, but Han Sol got everything because he was born first. And then when he died, I thought finally, I would get what I deserved. But no. He left it to you. A child. His son who was barely 30, 2 years old. I was 33, Cheng Mao said. And I'd been working at Cheng Industries since I was 22. I earned that position. You earned nothing, Daejung shouted. You inherited it, just like your father, and then you had the audacity, the absolute audacity, to marry this woman and have these mongrel children and parade them around like they're the future of Korea. Flora felt Cheng Mao's hand tighten on hers so hard her bones ached. But when he spoke, his voice was still controlled. Is that what this is about? Really? After everything, after all these years, you kidnapped my daughter because you're jealous of my father? I'm not jealous, Daejung said, but his voice wavered. I was owed respect, recognition, the position I deserved, and instead, I watched you throw it all away on diversity initiatives and multicultural programs and this family that makes a mockery of everything Korean. We don't make a mockery of anything, Flora said. Her voice was steady now, clear. We're building something new, something better, a Korea that has space for everyone, including children like ours. There is no space. Daejung's eyes were filling with tears now. Don't you understand? I've spent 60 years in this country, and there is no space for anything that doesn't fit the mold. Your children will never be accepted. They'll always be outsiders. You're raising them to be disappointed. Or, Flora said softly, we're raising them to change things. To make space where there wasn't space before. The way every generation does. Daejung stared at her through the screen. For a moment, something shifted in his face. Something that looked almost like understanding. Then it hardened again. It doesn't matter, he said. What matters is that you're going to give me what I want, or you'll never see this child again. What do you want? Cheng Mao asked, though Flora could hear in his voice that they both already knew. Tomorrow morning, you're going to call a press conference, Dae-jung said. You're going to announce that you're stepping down as CEO of Cheng Industries. You're going to say that marrying Flora was a mistake that compromised the company's integrity and traditional values. You're going to apologize to the board, to the shareholders, to Korea. He paused, letting that sink in. Then, and Flora is going to take these children and leave Korea. Forever. Back to Nigeria or America or anywhere that isn't here. You'll have visiting rights, of course, but the children don't stay. They don't grow up here. They don't pollute the Cheng family legacy anymore. The room went silent. Every police officer, every detective, was staring at the screen in horror. Flora felt like she'd been punched in the chest. Leave Korea? Take her children from their home, from their father, from everything they'd built? You're insane, Cheng Mao said flatly. I'm practical. Dae-jung's voice was almost gentle now, which somehow made it worse. You give me back what should have been mine. The company, the respect, the position. And these children go somewhere they actually belong. They belong here, Flora said, her voice rising. Korea is their home. They were born here. This is where they go to school, where they have friends, where they'll always be outsiders. Dae-jung finished. Flora, I'm doing you a favor. Take them somewhere they won't have to explain themselves every day. Somewhere they won't have to choose between halves of themselves. They're not halves. Flora was standing now, leaning toward the laptop screen. They're whole. Fully Korean and fully Nigerian. Both. Not half of anything. And anyone who can't see that is the one with the problem, not them. 2 hours, Dae-jung said, ignoring her. You have 2 hours to decide. The company and your freedom, or your daughter's life. Choose wisely. The screen went black. For 3 seconds, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then Flora turned to Cheng Mao and said, Give him the company. What? Give him the company. She grabbed his arms, her nails digging into his suit jacket. I don't care about Cheng Industries. I don't care about the CEO position or the board or the legacy or any of it. Just get our baby back. Flora. Don't. Tears were streaming down her face now. Don't you dare tell me no. Don't you dare tell me that some corporate position is worth more than our daughter's life. Don't you dare. That's not what I'm saying. Cheng Mao pulled her close, his forehead pressing against hers. Flora, listen to me. If we give in to him now, he'll never stop. He'll always have this power over us. Today it's the company and you leaving. Tomorrow it'll be something else. He'll use this threat again and again until we have nothing left. I don't care. Flora pushed away from him. Let him have the company. Let him have everything. As long as I can hold Zara, as long as she's safe, I don't care about anything else. But she will care. It was Agent Park who spoke, her voice quiet but firm. In 10 years, when Zara asks why you left Korea, why you gave up everything you fought for, what will you tell her? Flora whirled on her. I'll tell her I chose her life over our pride. I'll tell her that nothing matters more than her safety. And she'll understand that, Agent Park said. But she'll also know that her existence was the price. That being who she is cost her mother a home, cost her father a company, cost her family everything. She'll carry that weight her whole life. Then she'll be alive to carry it, Flora said. But even as she spoke, she felt the truth of Agent Park's words settling in her chest like stones. One of the detectives stepped forward. We traced the call. He's in Incheon, in the industrial district near the port. Old building. Hasn't been registered to any business in years. We're running the address now. Another detective was typing rapidly on Oblong's laptop. Got it. Former Cheng Industries storage facility, decommissioned in 2018 when they moved to the new warehouse. Cheng Mao's head snapped up. I know that building. My father used it for overflow storage. It's been empty for years. We're assembling a tactical team now, the lead detective said. But Mr. Cheng, Mrs. Cheng, I need to be clear about something. These situations are extremely delicate. If we go in aggressively, if the suspect feels cornered, he may. Don't. Flora held up a hand, her voice breaking. Please don't finish that sentence. Her phone buzzed. She looked down through blurred vision and saw a text from an unknown number. I know where my father is. The old storage facility in Incheon, southwest corner. There's a back entrance the police don't know about. Security code is 4729. I've been there with him. I know the layout. Please, Flora. Please save that little girl. My father has lost his mind. I'm so sorry. Minji Flora stared at the text. Cheng, Daejung's daughter. The woman who'd warned them 3 days ago about the family services threat. She was helping them again. She showed the text to Agent Park, who immediately relayed it to the detective team. How reliable is this source? One detective asked. Very, Cheng Mao said. She's his daughter. She warned us about his plan before the board vote. She's been trying to stop him. Then we move, the lead detective said. Now, before the 2-hour deadline, before he expects us. Flora was already walking toward the door. I'm coming. Mrs. Cheng, that's not advisable. I'm not asking for permission. Flora's voice was steel. That's my daughter in there with a man who hates her for existing. I am not sitting in this apartment while you plan a rescue operation. I'm going. Try to stop me. The detective looked like he wanted to argue, then seemed to recognize the futility. Fine. But you stay behind the tactical team. You follow orders exactly. If you compromise the operation, you could get your daughter killed. Understood? Understood. Cheng Mao was beside her. We're both going. They went. The drive to Incheon took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of Flora staring out the window, her mind replaying that security footage on a loop. Zara walking toward that gate. Zara disappearing. Zara in that warehouse with a man who called her a mistake. 40 minutes of Cheng Mao's hand gripping hers so tightly her fingers went numb. 40 minutes of Agent Park in the front seat coordinating with the tactical team. Her voice calm and professional, laying out the operation step by step. The building has 3 entrances, Agent Park was saying. Main entrance facing east, service entrance on the north side, and this 3rd entrance Minji mentioned on the southwest corner. We'll position teams at all 3. Simultaneous breach. What about Zara? Flora asked. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Distant, like someone else was speaking. What if he... What? If when you breach, he... Our first priority is the child's safety, the tactical team leader said from the driver's seat. We have negotiators. We have non-lethal options. We will get your daughter out safely. Flora wanted to believe him. Needed to believe him. But the terror was a living thing in her chest, clawing at her lungs, making it impossible to breathe. The old Cheng Industries storage facility loomed ahead, a massive concrete structure surrounded by a chain-link fence. It looked abandoned, forgotten. Weeds growing through cracks in the parking lot. Windows dark and empty. The perfect place to hide a kidnapped child. The tactical team moved into position with practiced efficiency. Flora and Cheng Mao waited behind the armored vehicles with Agent Park, watching as officers in tactical gear surrounded the building like shadows. Southwest entrance. The team leader whispered into his radio. Code confirmed. Breaching in 3, 2. Flora stopped breathing. 1. The door burst open. Officers flooded inside, their movements swift and coordinated. Radio chatter filled the air, terse and professional. First floor clear. Moving to second floor. Storage room secured. Stairwell clear. Then, we have visual on the target and the child. Third floor, northeast corner. Flora lurched forward, but Agent Park's hand on her shoulder held her back. Not yet. Let them work. More radio chatter. Flora's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Subject is armed. Repeat, subject has a weapon. The world tilted. Flora felt her knees buckle, felt Cheng Mao catch her. Negotiator moving in. The radio crackled, attempting verbal contact with subject. Through the grimy windows of the 3rd floor, Flora could see lights, movement, shadows of men in tactical gear taking positions. And somewhere in there, in that building, was her daughter. Mommy. The scream cut through everything. Zara's voice, high and terrified and calling, for her mother. Flora broke free from Agent Park's grip and ran. She barely registered the shouts behind her, barely heard Agent Park and Cheng Mao calling her name. All she knew was that her daughter was screaming for her, and nothing on earth was going to keep her away. She burst through the southwest entrance, down the corridor Minji had described, following the sound of Zara's cries. Tactical officers tried to intercept her, but she dodged around them, adrenaline making her faster than she'd ever been. Up the stairs, Third floor, northeast corner. And then she saw them. The storage room was vast and empty. Concrete floor and rusted metal shelves pushed against the walls. Fluorescent lights flickering overhead. In the center of the room, Cheng Dae-jung stood with one hand on Zara's shoulder. In his other hand, pointed at his own temple, was a gun. "Stay back!" he screamed when he saw Flora. His eyes were wild, his face streaked with tears and sweat. "Everyone stay back or I swear. To God, I'll mommy." Zara tried to run toward Flora, but Dae-jung's hand tightened on her shoulder, holding her in place. Flora froze. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to rush forward, to grab her daughter, to put herself between Zara and that gun. But the weapon in Dae-jung's trembling hand kept her rooted to the spot. "Let her go," Flora said. She was surprised by how calm her voice sounded. "Please, Cheng Dae-jung, whatever you're feeling, whatever pain you're in, that little girl doesn't deserve to see this. She doesn't deserve any of this." "Pain?" Dae-jung's laugh was broken, hysterical. "You have no idea what it's like to watch everything you worked for be destroyed, to see your family name disgraced, to know that you'll be forgotten while others take the glory." "I disgraced nothing." Cheng Mao's voice came from the doorway. Flora turned to see him standing there, flanked by tactical officers, his face pale but his voice steady. "I disgraced nothing," Cheng Mao repeated, taking a slow step into the room. "My father built Cheng Industries. He chose to leave it to me. That was his decision, not mine." "Your father was a fool." The gun trembled in Dae-jung's hand. Flora watched it, terrified it would go off accidentally. "He chose you over me, his own brother. I gave everything to that company, and he left it to his son like I was nothing." "You were never nothing," Cheng Mao said. "You were vice president. You had respect, position, wealth. But it was never enough." "Was it? Because it wasn't the top. It wasn't CEO. I deserved it." Dae-jung was crying now, tears streaming down his face. "I was older than you, more experienced. I'd been there longer. But your father thought you were so special, so brilliant, just because you were his blood. And that's how family businesses work," Cheng Mao said quietly. "For better or worse, that's tradition, the thing you claim to care so much about." "Tradition?" Dae-jung spat. "You speak to me of tradition while you parade around with your black wife and your mongrel children, destroying everything Korean about this family." Flora saw Zara flinch at that word. Mongrel. Her daughter's small face crumpled, and something in Flora snapped. "Don't," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "Don't you dare use that word in front of my child. That's what she is." Dae-jung's voice was rising, becoming more unhinged. "That's what they both are. Confused, displaced, belonging to no culture, no country, nothing pure." "There's nothing pure about hate," Flora said. "And that's all you have. Not love for Korea or Korean culture, not respect for tradition, just hate. Hate for me because I'm black. Hate for my children because they're mixed. Hate for Cheng Mao because he got what you think should have been yours." "I don't." Dae-jung's voice wavered. "I don't hate them. I don't hate the children. They're just confused. They need to be somewhere they belong. They belong here," Flora said. "Korea is their home. It will never accept them. Then we'll make it accept them." Flora took a step forward, and several tactical officers tensed. "That's what parents do. We fight for our children. We make space for them in a world that tries to exclude them. We don't give up. We don't run. We fight." "You can't win," Dae-jung said, and for a moment he sounded almost sad. "Flora, I'm trying to help you. You can't win this fight. Korea will never change fast enough for your children. They'll grow up always being asked where they're really from, always having to prove they belong, always being not quite Korean enough, not quite Nigerian enough. You're condemning them to a life of never fitting in." "No," said a small voice. "That's not true." Everyone froze. Zara, who'd been silent through all of this, was looking up at Cheng Dae-jung with those bright, intelligent 5-year-old eyes. "That's not true," she repeated, her voice stronger now. "I'm not confused." "Zara, sweetheart," Flora started, but her daughter kept talking. "I'm not confused," Zara said again, looking at Cheng Dae-jung. "Mommy says I'm fully Korean and fully Nigerian. Both, not half. I can be both." "You can't," Dae-jung said, but his voice lacked conviction. "No one can be both." "I can." Zara's small chin lifted. "I can speak 3 languages. I bow to elders the Korean way. I know Korean songs and Nigerian songs. I celebrate Chuseok and Christmas and Nigerian Independence Day. I eat kimchi and jollof rice. I love both. She paused, then asked the question that broke something in the room. Why do you hate me? I didn't do anything bad. Dae-jung stared down at his granddaughter, this small child who should have been terrified, who should have been crying, but instead was asking him a genuine question with genuine confusion in her eyes. And Flora watched as something cracked in his face. He started, then stopped. His hand loosened on Zara's shoulder. I don't hate you. Then why did you take me? Zara asked. Why did you make my mommy cry? I saw her on the computer. She was crying. Because, Dae-jung's voice broke. Because I'm scared. Because everything is changing and I don't know how to stop it. Because I thought if I could go back to how things were. But you can't, Zara said with the simple logic of a 5-year-old. My teacher says you can't go backwards. You can only go forwards. The gun lowered slightly from Dae-jung's temple. His whole body was shaking now. Your grandfather, he said, looking down at Zara. The great Cheng Han-sol. He always knew how to move forward. He saw the future. And I'm stuck in the past, trying to hold on to something that's already gone. His hand fell completely away from Zara's shoulder. I'm sorry, he said, looking at this small child. I'm so sorry. You're right. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just a little girl. And then, before anyone could react, Cheng Dae-jung raised the gun back to his own head. No! Cheng Mao lunged forward, but he was too far away. The tactical officers moved, but they weren't close enough. It was Zara who saved him. This 5-year-old child, who'd been kidnapped and held hostage and called terrible names, reached up and grabbed Cheng Dae-jung's arm with both of her small hands. Don't, she screamed, pulling at his arm. Don't do that. That's bad. That's very, very bad. The moment of hesitation was all the tactical team needed. Officers swarmed forward, wrestling the gun from Dae-jung's hand, pulling him away from Zara, forcing him to the ground. And Zara ran. She ran straight to Flora, who dropped to her knees just in time to catch her daughter. Flora's arms wrapped around Zara's small body, clutching her so tightly she was probably hurting her, but she couldn't let go, couldn't loosen her grip. I've got you, Flora sobbed into Zara's curly hair. Mommy's got you. You're safe. You're safe. I love you so much. He took me from school and I didn't know where we were going and I called for you but you didn't come and I was so scared. Mommy, I know, baby. I know. I'm so sorry. But I'm here now. Mommy's here. Cheng Mao was there then, wrapping his arms around both of them. And the three of them collapsed together on the concrete floor of that abandoned warehouse. Flora felt Cheng Mao's tears soaking through her shirt, felt Zara's small body shaking with sobs between them. But she was here. She was alive. They had her back. Around them, officers were reading Cheng Dae-jung his rights. He wasn't fighting. He'd gone completely limp, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes, repeating over and over, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant. I just wanted. I'm so sorry. One of the tactical officers approached Flora carefully. Ma'am, we need to get your daughter to the hospital. Standard procedure after a kidnapping. Flora nodded, unable to speak, and stood with Zara in her arms. Her 5-year-old immediately wrapped her legs around Flora's waist, her arms around her neck, clinging like she'd never let go. As they walked out of the warehouse, Zara lifted her head from Flora's shoulder. Mommy? Yes, baby? That man said I don't belong anywhere. Is that true? Flora stopped walking right there in the corridor. She looked at her daughter's face, this beautiful child who'd been so brave, and felt something fierce and protective surge in her chest. No, she said firmly. That's not true. You belong everywhere, Zara. You're Korean and Nigerian. Fully both. And anywhere in this world that doesn't understand that is wrong. Not you. Never you. Zara studied her mother's face for a long moment. Then she nodded, laid her head back on Flora's shoulder, and closed her eyes. Flora carried her daughter out into the afternoon sunlight, Cheng Mao beside her, and didn't let go for a second. The hospital insisted on keeping Zara overnight for observation. Physically, she was fine. No injuries, no signs of abuse. Dae-jung hadn't hurt her, but psychologically, the doctor said, She'd need time, counseling, support. Flora never left her bedside. Junseo was brought to the hospital by Agent Park. Their 4-year-old son climbed carefully onto the hospital bed beside his sister, taking her hand. "I'm glad you're okay," he said seriously. "I missed you." Zara squeezed his hand. "I missed you too." That night while Zara slept between them in the hospital bed, Cheng Mao's phone rang. It was Minji. "Is she?" Minji's voice was shaking. "Is Zara okay?" "She's okay," Cheng Mao said quietly. "Thank you. If you hadn't sent that text, if you hadn't given us that information." "I'm so sorry." Minji was crying. "I'm so sorry for what my father did. I should have done more to stop him. I should have seen how far he'd gone." "You did everything you could," Flora said. Cheng Mao had put her on speaker. "You warned us. You helped us find her. You chose to do the right thing even though it meant betraying your father. That took courage." "I don't feel courageous," Minji said. "I feel like I failed. My father, he's sick. He's been sick for a long time. Jealousy and resentment eating at him. I tried to help, but I didn't know how far gone he was until it was almost too late." "He'll get help now," Cheng Mao said. "Psychiatric evaluation, treatment. Maybe this is what he needed. To hit bottom." "Maybe," Minji said, but she didn't sound convinced. "I want to visit when Zara is ready. If that's okay, I want to apologize to her in person." Flora looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully now, curled up between her parents. "When she's ready," Flora said. "Yes, you can visit." 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning, Flora stood in front of a packed auditorium at Seoul International Community Center. The Number Fully Both movement had exploded. What started as a social media campaign had become a national organization. Support groups in every major city, advocacy programs in schools, a voice for multicultural families that Korea could no longer ignore. Today, they were launching the biggest initiative yet, a partnership with Cheng Industries. They'd had a board meeting 2 weeks ago, a very different board meeting from the one 3 months earlier. Cheng Mao had stood before the same 23 board members and made a proposal. Cheng Industries would establish a scholarship fund for multicultural students, free counseling services for families facing discrimination, advocacy programs to change Korean laws around citizenship and identity, diversity training for all employees, partnership with the Seoul International Community Center. "My father built this company on innovation," Cheng Mao had told the board. "On looking forward, not back. And the future of Korea is multicultural. We can resist that and become irrelevant, or we can embrace it and lead the way." The vote had been unanimous. Even the 5 board members who'd voted against Cheng Mao 3 months ago had voted yes. Now, Flora looked out at the audience. Hundreds of multicultural families. Yolanda Kim in the front row, tears streaming down her face. Other mothers she'd met through Number Fully Both. Children of all backgrounds playing together in a designated area. 3 months ago, Flora began, her voice steady. "My daughter was kidnapped by someone who believed her existence was wrong, who believed that her mixed heritage made her a mistake, a problem to be solved." The room was silent. Even the children had stopped playing to listen. "But she's not a mistake. None of our children are mistakes. They're not confused. They're not half of anything. They're fully both, fully everything they are. And that's not a problem. That's a gift." She paused, letting that sink in. "Today, we're announcing a partnership that will invest 10 billion won over the next 5 years in supporting multicultural families. Scholarships, counseling, legal advocacy, because our children deserve to grow up in a Korea that celebrates them, not questions them." The applause was deafening. Cheng Mao stepped forward. "My father, Cheng Han Sol, believed in progress, in evolution, in building the future, not preserving the past. My uncle, Cheng Dae-jung, couldn't see that. He was trapped by fear and jealousy and resentment. He's currently serving an 8-year sentence for kidnapping, and he's receiving psychiatric treatment." Flora watched Cheng Mao take a breath, steadying himself. "I tell you this not to shame him, but to be honest about what fear can do, what resistance to change can drive people to become. My uncle convinced himself that diversity was destroying Korea, when in reality, diversity is what will save it." He looked at Flora, and she saw love in his eyes. Pride. Partnership. "My wife is the strongest person I know. My children are the bravest. And this community," he gestured to the packed auditorium, is proof that change is not just possible. It's already happening. The crowd rose to their feet, applauding. After the press conference, Minji approached them hesitantly. She was holding 2 gift bags, her eyes red from crying. I brought something, she said quietly. For Zara and Junso. If that's okay. Flora had been meeting with Minji regularly over the past 3 months. This woman who'd helped save Zara, who'd betrayed her own father to protect a child. She'd been carrying so much guilt. They're at their grandmother's house, Flora said. But you can visit next week. I think Zara's ready. Minji's face crumpled with relief. Thank you. I need her to know that not everyone in the family feels the way my father did. That she has people who love her, who see her. She knows, Flora said gently. She asks about you. She wants to meet your children. Really? Minji looked stunned. Really? She said. They're my cousins, right? I want to play with my cousins. Minji started crying again, and Flora found herself hugging this woman who'd been on the opposite side of their family war but had chosen right in the end. 6 months after the kidnapping, Flora stood outside Seoul International Elementary at dismissal time, waiting for Zara. The playground was full of children in navy uniforms, playing and laughing. Zara emerged with a group of friends, Korean kids, mixed kids, international kids, all playing together like it was the most natural thing in the world. But what made Flora's heart swell was watching Zara approach a new student who was standing alone by the gate. A small boy with tan skin and nervous eyes, clearly his first day. Flora couldn't hear what Zara said, but she saw her daughter smile, saw her gesture to the playground, saw her take the boy's hand and lead him toward her group of friends. Just like that, seeing someone alone and bringing them in. That night, at dinner, Flora asked Zara about it. Oh, that's Marcus, Zara said, twirling noodles around her chopsticks. He's Filipino and Korean. It was his first day and he looked scared, so I said hi. That was kind of you, Cheng Mao said. Zara shrugged. Miss Park says when we see someone alone, we should invite them to play. So I did. Flora and Cheng Mao exchanged glances over the table. Their daughter, teaching kindness to the next generation. Later that evening, after the kids were in bed, Flora and Cheng Mao stood at their usual spot. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Do you ever regret it? Cheng Mao asked quietly. Coming here? Marrying me? Everything we've been through? Flora turned to look at him. This man who'd stood beside her through protests and board votes and kidnappings. This man who'd chosen her, chosen their family, every single time. Never, she said. Not once. Not ever. He pulled her close, his arms around her waist. Even after everything with Dae-jung? Even after Zara was taken? Especially after that, Flora said. Because we got her back. Because we won. Because we're still here, still fighting, still making space for our family to exist. She looked out at Seoul, this city that had challenged them at every turn, but had also become home. They said we didn't belong, that our love was wrong, that our children would be confused and displaced and never fit in anywhere. They were wrong, Cheng Mao said. They were wrong, Flora agreed. Zara isn't confused. Neither is Junso. They're exactly who they're supposed to be. Fully Korean, fully Nigerian, fully both, fully themselves. Outside, Seoul stretched endlessly in every direction. Millions of lights, millions of lives, and somewhere in that vast city other mixed families were having dinner. Other children were learning they were fully both. Other parents were fighting for space. The world was changing, slowly, painfully, but it was changing. And Flora and Cheng Mao and Zara and Junso were part of that change. They were proof that love could cross borders, that families could be built across cultures, that children could be fully both. They were exactly where they belonged. Flora pulled out her phone and opened social media. The number fully both hashtag had over 1 million posts now. Stories from multicultural families across Korea. Photos of beautiful mixed children. Parents sharing their struggles and victories. She scrolled through, reading some of the recent posts. My daughter starts school tomorrow. She's Korean Vietnamese. She's nervous, but I showed her Zara's story. Now she knows she's not alone. Number fully both. Today my son said, I'm not half and half, I'm whole and whole. He's 6, he's Korean American, he's brilliant. Number fully both. Thank you to the Cheng family for starting this movement. My kids finally have a community. Number fully both. Flora felt tears prick her eyes. All of this, because they'd refused to give up. Because they'd fought back. Cheng Mao was reading over her shoulder. Look at what you started, he said softly. What we started, Flora corrected. Together. He kissed her temple. Together. A sound from the hallway made them turn. Zara was standing there in her purple pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit. Bad dream? Flora asked, opening her arms. Zara shook her head. No. I just wanted to see you. She patted over to them, and Flora scooped her up even though she was getting too big for it. Zara laid her head on Flora's shoulder, looking out at the Seoul skyline. It's pretty, Zara said. It is, Flora agreed. This is our city. Our home, Zara added. Our home, Flora repeated. They stood there, the three of them, looking out at Seoul. Their city, their home, the place they'd fought for the right to belong. And they did belong. They'd made sure of it. Thank you for following Flora and Cheng Mao's journey across all 5 episodes. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they belong. Comment below what resonated with you most, and subscribe for more stories about families who refuse to be erased. For every multicultural family fighting to exist, you are fully both. You are enough. You belong. Dedicated to every child who's been asked, where are you really from? And every parent who's fought to make space for them in this world. For Zara, for Jun So, for all the beautiful, brilliant, fully both children building tomorrow.